Today we are going to identify the parts of algebraic expressions. To start, let's go through a couple of vocabulary words. We're going to start with the definition of an algebraic expression. Now, prior, we've learned about numerical expressions. Numeric expressions have simply numbers and operations. For example, 3 plus 4. An algebraic expression throws in an added component, which would be the symbols or variables. So your algebraic expressions has symbols, numbers, and operations. An example of an algebraic expression would be 5x plus 4. We've got numbers, that variable, and then that addition sign. All right, so when we are given algebraic expressions, we are asked to typically evaluate them. We evaluate them, and that means that we are going to determine what the value of the expression is. Your value is a number or a result of a calculation. So we'll take a look at some different values throughout the unit. Right here, we've got one big expression. 5x plus 4. This is an algebraic expression. Let's break down the parts here. First, we have terms. Terms are the parts of an algebraic expression. 5x is one term, and 4 is a second term. This plus sign is an operation and is not part of the terms. So your terms are the separate parts of your expression. Next, we've got our variable. Our variable is a symbol or letter that represents an unknown. Here, our variable is x. We don't know what x stands for. Therefore, we put that variable in as a placeholder. X represents an unknown value. Next, we've got coefficient. Your coefficient is the number that is attached to the variable. So these two, once we would determine what that x value is, we would multiply these together. 5 is being multiplied with x. The coefficient is attached to the variable. Coefficient is often typically confused with constant, which is the other number that we will see in expressions. But your constant is not attached to a variable. Coefficient is attached to a variable, constant is not. A constant is exactly that. It stays constant and is not impacted by another variable. That constant stands alone as its own term. So what we're going to do today is practice identifying these different pieces of an algebraic expression. So right here, 2z squared plus y plus 3 is an algebraic expression. We need to break down this expression and determine the different pieces of it. Let's begin. We need to identify first the terms. The terms that we see here are 2z squared, y, and 3. There are 3 terms in this expression. Next, we move on to our variables, and those are, as we mentioned before, the letters, those unknown letters. Here we have 2. We have z and we have y. Those are our variables. Next, we have our coefficients. Our coefficients can get a little tricky. We can right away see that 2 is a coefficient. That 2 is attached to the variable z. Many times we think we are done with our coefficients, but in fact we're not. Every variable has a coefficient whether we see it or not. When we do not see a coefficient, as is the case here with our y, that means that 1 is our coefficient. It's telling us that there is one y. Here we have 2z squared. So coefficient is that 2, but it's also 1. And then lastly, we have our constants, and we just have that one constant standing alone, and that is 3. So again, your terms are your different parts of your expression. Your variables are the letters. Your coefficients are the numbers attached to your variables. Every variable will have a coefficient, whether we see it or not. And then our constants are our standalone numbers.